Shake, baby, shake. Shake, baby, shake. Dana and I talk about instant stress relief tips. Stay tuned. Hello, everybody. This is Alexandra Epple and
Dana Skoglund.
Woohoo! We're here to share some instant stress relief tips with you from yoga and Ayurveda. And like we all know, hey, when we are stressed out, what do we grab? We grab coffee and
sugar or food. Sometimes it's salty food.
Yeah, I love salty food. Yeah. So tell me, Dana, what do you do? So we are both yoga health coaches, we should say, and we work with people to help them have an easier life. So I'm curious, Dana, what is your main thing that you go to when you feel stressed?
Deep breathing, really. I mean, I'm thinking of a time when I was in the car and I have two little boys and they often drive me crazy. my stress response gets triggered and I just breathe specifically into the back of my body. And when I'm sitting in the car, it's really easy because you've got something against the back of your body and you've got that biofeedback.
You got to be zen about your breath.
So just breathing into my kidneys and also even just feeling what's underneath you, like feeling the ground, feeling your seat, and consciously moving energy down is one of my just really, really simple, really easy tools. I was recently teaching a workshop on sleep, and that's the problem is that, you know, way back when the stress response was triggered, it was an actual threat, like a tiger or a bear. And the stress response increases cortisol, which is the fight or flight hormone, which means we would actually either fight or we would flight. So we would do some sort of movement to actually get the stress and get the cortisol out of our body. Nowadays, when the stress response is triggered, it's often a perceived threat, like just worry. And sometimes it's an actual threat. Maybe we get cut off in the car or something. But we don't have an outlet because we don't actually get it out of our systems. We don't fight. We don't just let it fester. And then that cortisol basically just stays in our system. And then we're always in this kind of low level stress response state. And which is why we don't sleep well and we have all these issues. And so we need to learn how, it's so important that we learn how to turn off the stress response and then how to turn on the relaxation response.
I love what you said about breathing back into the back body and just breathing into like upper back, middle back, lower back, kidneys, anything that's sitting kind of behind here and leaning back. I love that because from the yogic perspective, the back body is the surrender body or the God body or universal body or whatever you want to call it. And it's like when we lean back, there's this instant letting go. We don't even have to try, but it's just like, things drop away, right?
Totally. Yeah, exactly.
What you said about, well, we used to run or we used to flee or we used to fight and we get the energy out. You know, one of my things when I'm stressed out is just get off of my desk and go outside and do some jumping jacks. Jumping jack helps. Jumping jack helps. Or my friends have this trampoline, this big trampoline. Yeah. So it's awesome. I can just walk down there and jump a few times, and it really just takes 3-4 minutes, and I feel so much more revived.
Totally. Yeah, I recently learned. I learned it in kind of a different context. The shaking has been used for trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder people, and it's literally because if you think of an animal when they have been traumatized, they'll often like shake. And they will like vibrate. Yeah. And so even before bed, like doing this before bed where you don't actually jump, but you just like kind of bounce at the knees and you shake and you're literally like you're shaking off, you're shaking it off. It's like that expression, just shake it off, you know, when something bothers you. So that's another way I think, and I love what you're saying about just like moving and getting it out and exercise. I mean, so many people talk about how exercise is a great stress relief practice, and it's like such a healthy way to manage stress.
And I think there's a difference though between letting go of superficial stress and getting to a really deep state of relaxation. I think there's two different points there. I think there's techniques where we can just rid ourselves of the superficial or the immediate stress that we have right now. Like you're saying, the faking, so helpful. The jumping jacks, so helpful, right? And there's this other technique in yoga where we make everything tense for a moment. And when we in breathe, and then we like just let go on the out breath and do it like 6 times, really tightening everything, including your face, and letting go. Those are some really good techniques to let go of superficial stress and kind of clear. It's almost like when you clean the kitchen, you do a superficial clean in the kitchen, and that's cool. You should do that every day, sort of a thing. But then there's a deep clean that needs to happen too. So what do you do for the deep clean?
Well, I was just thinking, as far as the deeper clean is my daily meditation practice, is like the longer session of 15 minutes of letting go and of getting that relaxation response to get triggered, and to do a little bit of breathing before that so that you are in a state that you can meditate a little bit more easily. So I would say that. But then I also, for stress, I mean, you always want to ask yourself the bigger question, like, what is perpetuating stress in your life, and where are you living out of alignment, or where are you overcommitted, where are you just doing things that are overcrossing your boundaries. So I think that, like, if you're always stressed out, I mean, and then there's always, the relationship that you have towards stress, and how you perceive stress, and what's your MO with the demands of life, and how do you, what kind of mindset do you have? Do you have a growth mindset, or do you have a fixed mindset? And do you have a pessimistic outlook, or do you have an optimistic outlook? So it's these kind of things as well.
Yeah, there's so many there, right? And I think one of the things for women in particular is that we are such givers, and we're constantly trying to please other people. And then we do things for them all the time: husbands, children, volunteering, working, yada, yada, yada.
You got to keep that bucket full. Full. That way you get to give more. Dang, that bucket has holes again. I gotta fix that, man.
And we don't really fill our own bucket first, but we fill other people's buckets first. And it kind of plays into what you talked about with the attitude, or like, oh, do I have the attitude of serving all the time? Which is a great attitude to have, don't get me wrong, but there needs to be a balance of how much we give and how much we receive. And like asking yourself even that question, where am I on that scale? And does it equal out?
Yeah, I remember before I really started taking better care of myself, I was so resentful to my husband because I felt like I was doing everything, and I felt like he wasn't supporting me and he wasn't doing his half. And I felt that way just because I wasn't supporting myself and I wasn't taking care of myself. So I was playing the victim mindset and blaming my circumstances and blaming everyone else for just me not taking full responsibility and doing what I needed to do to fill my own cup first, and then have an abundance to then be in that place of service.
Yeah. I do want to come back to one more time to this deep relaxation response, because there's one technique that I really want to mention, and that's from yoga nidra.
Yes.
IDRA. Totally. That is like a total powerful deep relaxation practice that is like so easy. It's almost ridiculous. It's so easy. And I remember using it when I put myself through Ayurveda school. And so I was working, obviously, and I was going to Ayurveda school, and I was doing yoga teacher trainings at the same time. And it was a lot, and I don't earn very much. So there was the financial stress behind it. And then there was the studying stress, and then all of these things. And I remember doing yoga nidra for half an hour once a day for an entire year. And it was absolutely incredible.
Wow.
The power behind it, and how much deep relaxation I got. And it was so helpful. Yeah.
Such a powerful practice. It's, what do they say? Like 1 hour of nidra is equivalent to like 4 hours of sleep or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. And it can be, a small short practice of at the end of the day, putting your legs up the wall and listening to maybe a yoga nidra guided relaxation, or, if you just go through that kind of progressive relaxation on your own. but yeah, it's so important. And another practice that I wanted to mention that I like is tapping. And, like EFT, it's tapping on the meridian points, which actually turns off the stress response as well. And that's a good kind of in the moment thing, like when the stress response is triggered and in that moment you have a tool that you can use right away. And then also something kind of we alluded to before is it's our relationship to stress. And Kelly McGonigal has a great TED talk on this. And if we see stress as being bad for us, it will actually have detrimental effects on our physiology. But if we actually see stress as a symbol that something's really important to you, and of course it depends on the context of the situation, but if you see that I'm feeling the stress because this is something that is really meaningful and important to me, then I'm actually going to use that stress to give me the energy I need to then do what is necessary, then it actually doesn't have the negative effects on our bodies.
So true. And it has to be stated that stress in itself isn't bad. The body needs a certain amount of stress, because if we just sit back and become a couch potato and don't do anything, then it's also not good for the body.
Which side is fuller? Giving, receiving, giving, receiving. I don't know.
But because stress, all that means is stimulation. And so we just have to balance stimulation and rejuvenation. And right now, society, stimulation's here, rejuvenation is off the chart.
Yeah, it's like non-existent. Yeah, that's actually, there's a great book on this. Well, it's part of the book. It's called Peak Performance. And he says that the formula for growth is stress plus rest. And so we do need both. Like we do need to actually stress. And he was actually saying, it's like athletes, they will stress their bodies, but then they have equal, if not more, period of recovery. And their growth is actually, like, that recovery is non-negotiable. It's like they will not grow if they don't allow their bodies to recover. Like they'll just keep breaking down. And what we do in our lives is we just often will just push ourselves and not allow that recovery time. So we're actually not growing. We're just wearing ourselves down, and we're holding ourselves back in so many ways.
Totally. So many things, so many tools. And so you got some things to do, and we are here to help you. This is Alexandra Epple and
Donna Skoglund.
Bye for now.
Bye.